Hey Matt, so what do you got going on your amp here?
Well, it's my new Classic Reverb, 100 watt, 50 watt switchable. I've always been a 50 watt guy.
Yeah.
Bill over at 2 Rock came up with this new crazy transformer design, so you can put it on 50 or 100 and it works properly. I don't know the technicalities behind that, but I never liked the sound of a 100 watt amp on 50 watt setting. But this doesn't sound like that. 50 and 100 both work like they're supposed to. So then you start getting 100 watts and you're like, what's not to like about that? Yeah. It's more loud.
More is always more.
Yeah, of course, more is more.
Yeah, he's right.
He's absolutely right, man. But so other than that, it's like an evolution of what I've been using with 2 Rock. Anyway, I would say, I used the old Classic Reverbs for years, and this is more overall vintage voice to it. It's the most vintage sounding, which I like, coming from playing super reverbs for years.
And you're going through a 410.
410 cab, and this is Pine now as well. Right, so it's like now with Bill and Mac and Eli, they've taken what I liked about 2 Rock anyway and leaned it further back towards where I came from. So it fits perfectly, really. So there's the gain structures on this one, so I'm using it on the middle one, which is actually the same as...
So there's 3 gain structures.
3 gain structures on the input, I believe. I'm using the middle one, which is the same as my old 2 Rock Signature amp. And then you've got bottom one, blackface. So that opens out the sound a bit like that. And then this one I think is more like the original Classic Reverb. And then the middle one I'm using is just a bit hotter and a little bit looser. Makes me think of like that, more like a Bassman rather than a super, you know. And then there's some other stuff that you can use as well, which I don't, but you can.
Well, it's got the FET.
FET, yes. So it's like a built-in clean boost, I guess we'd say.
Right.
That's just.
And of course, it's got a bright switch, mid switch.
Let's have a look. I've not even tried this.
All right, let's try.
Little very tasteful one.
Yeah.
Mid. I guess that's probably going to sound cool if we.
Yeah, it's pumping the mids.
Sounds pretty cool on the bridge pickup of the Strat, actually. I like that. Deep. It sounds like it changes the low mids a bit to me or something like that. I don't. But both cool sounds, EQ 1 and 2. Just much cleaner for people who can play jazz.
Roll off too, it sounds like.
Yeah. I can't play jazz, but you can. But, and then the bypass, which is sorry, that's annoying me. Hang on. No, back. There we go. Bypass on. Like, the tone stack
bypass.
So I reckon with the foot switch, I could probably get away with just plugging straight in and feeling all right between the FET and the bypass, even though we're blues guys who use pedal boards.
Oh yeah, and it's got good reverb and,
Yeah, reverb's great. I think mine has a 2-spring tank in it rather than the 3 because I like the old Fender, but that's the wonders of being able to call good fellas at T-Rock and say, I prefer this. You know.
So you were using your gain structure.
The middle gain, yeah.
And I was using the blackface.
Yeah.
Let me check. Yes, the blackface gain structure. Okay.
Yeah. Just maybe with my slightly lower output pickups.
Oh, yeah, these are high output.
Yeah.
But that's. Different cab though too.
410s, 212s, yeah.
And this one's birch, right? Not
I
pine.
don't know.
I don't know either.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, sounds great.
Cool, man. That's the gold right there, mate. What about yours? What's your setup? What's different about yours?
Just the speaker cabinet. It's a 212 instead of a 410. And I was using the blackface side of the gain structure input, so it's a little more scooped and a little less gain. So on the bridge, it's a little honkier. I'm definitely using more reverb than Matt. That's just personal preference. And where you got the contour set? I was curious about that.
It's about, oh shit, look, I've messed up the mics now. Can't take me anywhere. Yeah. Let's see.
We're switching
it's
amps
like
anyways.
it's like 1 o'clock or something. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm straight up at 12.
Right.
Yeah.
If in doubt, pop
Yes,
it.
with
Pop it
when
at
in
12.
doubt. How loud we got the master on yours?
I'm on like 2 and 2 on the gain and the master there, you know.
Okay, so I'm on like 12 and 2 on the gain and the master.
Probably the pickup difference again.
And the strings too. More
That's
output
true,
from my
of course,
strings
with
in
your outrageous strings.
But I mean, you know, I will say compared to what like your old T-Rock, I remember playing that. This definitely leans more towards the stuff we're familiar with.
Totally,
for sure.
the way the top end breaks up.
And
stuff.
it feels more. This feels more like what I like.
Yeah.
For sure. What
Is
I'm
it?
used to.
And my signature one had the dual tube rectifiers, and this of course doesn't because it's 100 watts,
Right.
but it still feels like it's got, you know, sometimes when you get like a really dialed in twin, they're just too tight and stiff and they don't do
Absolutely,
anything.
yeah.
And then, so I think the pedals, it takes the pedals better.
It took the pedals, to me it took the pedals like a 40 watt amp, not like a 100 watt amp.
Right.
It gave a little bit. You were using a pedal the whole time, I was too, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so
pretty much.
they heard a pedal going
Yeah.
on. For me, what stands out the most about what in its heart seems like a complex amp. It's got master volume, gain, it's got a FET volume, it's got a lot of EQ switches, it's got reverb, it's got the contour control, it's got 3 different gain structures. It feels like an amp that has 5 knobs, which is what I'm always looking for. Something that feels like I can plug in, it breaks up just the right amount, it takes pedals the way I want it to take pedals, it compresses in the right way, which also 100 watts sometimes don't do that. This amp has a real nice feel for 100 watt. It's not very strident, even though it's solid state rectified. That's what I'm feeling. I don't know, man. I'm getting the feeling from playing this amp that even for a complex amp with all the different EQs, a master volume, a FET boost type thing, different gain structures, that it feels like my 5 watt amps that I love, where I just turn it up and it reacts the way I want it to.
It's like versatile, but not overly versatile that you can't just plug in if you're coming from being like a Fender guy with volume, treble, middle, bass.
Yeah.
You can still do that, and it's even set similar to how I would do that on one of those.
Yeah, no, I set this definitely
amps.
the way I would go up to a super and
it,
set that.
And it works. And then you can tweak it from there if you're so inclined. But
Well, I'm always looking for, I don't know about you, but I'm always, every piece of gear in my chain, I'm trying to eliminate compression and maximize dynamics.
Right.
So everything I want to react when I play, when I back off, when I play hard, when I change pickups, I want to hear it all.
I want to hear it,
And this seems to handle everything you throw at it.
Yeah, I always like that about the T-Rocks anyway, that my guitar's always like, I have 4 different SVL strats that I use depending on where I am and what mood. And you can hear the difference between, they're all sort of S style, but you can hear the difference. And I want to hear that, like you say, at every stage in the chain, even from cables onwards.
every
I want
stage.
the cable to do a good job when I turn the volume down on the guitar. Like
Everyone. When I turn on that drive pedal and it's uncompressed, I want to hear that. When I turn on a fuzz,
Yeah.
I want to hear a drastic difference, and be able to have the dynamic range available to me. And it seems to have that.
Yeah, it is like it's like. I mean, obviously, I played Turoks for longer than yourself, but it's like everything they've been, and now more that I liked about the old stuff I used. It's like really put together, with that vintage response.
Can you say how long you have been using Turok for?
Man, I've been playing Turoks for must be, I think 12 years, maybe 2000. I think I've been playing it for about 12 years. 2005, I bought a Custom Reverb Signature 1 at Haar Guitars in Holland on tour out there, and so it was a 50-watt Custom Reverb Signature. And funnily enough, I never really used the overdrive channel that much, but it just sounded like, like what I wanted, what I hoped my old Fenders might sound like if they were bigger sounding.
Yeah.
And actually after that, probably about a year or so later, we spoke to the guys and said we'd really like a 410 cab, because that's what I was used to. So yeah, that's probably a good 10 years ago now, something like that.
No, I don't know how Matt starts, but I start flat on everything.
Right.
I normally set the volume halfway up, set treble halfway up, set bass and mids just below half, reverb to taste, and then I play and change EQ. Now this has more switches and more stuff, so I would fiddle with, but I certainly would probably immediately, the second I found the black face input side of the gain structure, I would certainly probably live there and set it that way.
Yeah, I'm a switches down. If on is on, then if up is on, then I'm switches down. And I always dial any amp in the same. I always quickly listen to the pot rotation, and then I put it where it does the most. That's how I dial in. If it's from years of doing flying gigs with horrible amps and back, you've got to make this sound really good, or as best it can, in 15 minutes before you play a festival. So I put the treble here. I hear where it starts to come on there. And the same, bass, for example, is easy to hear. So where it starts to come on is where it goes. And that way, that's my same thing you were just talking about with trying to get it all to respond. If I find if I put them there, if I dig in harder, it's brighter, and if I play softer, you're kind of pushing the amp past those thresholds. So that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.